All right, now we're going to learn about two-step equations with two fractions. This involves a couple more steps, so you might want to write some things down in your notebook as we're going along so that you can remember what to do. So our first problem is going to be 2/3 x plus 10 equals 1 1/4. The very first thing we have to do is take that mixed number and turn it into an improper fraction. That's so that it's in a way that we can actually deal with it. So to do that, we're going to take our denominator, which is 4, and we're going to multiply it by the whole number. And I'm writing out a little more notes than I normally do just so that you can remember what to do. And this is our whole number. So we're going to take 4 times 1, and we're going to get 4 for that. Nice and easy. The last step, and we can't forget it, we've got this thing called the numerator. We're going to add the numerator, or the top number, to that. Because some of us kind of forgot how to do this. So when we do that, we have 4 plus 1, which is 5, and we're just going to throw it right back on top of that old denominator that we had. So now we have 5/4. I'm going to bring everything else down. Now, we've got two fractions. The denominators don't match. We have these denominators on each side, and they don't match. We have a 3 and a 4, so that's going to make it hard. We're going to have to find common denominators, all that good stuff. So instead, we're going to make them go away. We're going to make these fractions disappear. So we're going to take these two numbers, in this case my 3 and my 4, and our next step is simply to multiply them together. 3 times 4, which is going to give me 12. Now that I've done that, I've got this magic number 12, and that's going to be our magic number. We're going to multiply each term by it. So each and every term, we're going to multiply by each term by that new number. That one we got by taking these two. So we're going to do 12 times 2/3 x plus 10 times 12 again is equal to 5/4 times 12. I'm running into my writing. Now, we learned how to use fractions in our calculator, so use your calculator. If you're at home, though, you can still do it. You can put 2 divided by 3 times 12, and it'll still give you the answer. So when I multiply these two together, I'm going to end up with 8x. I did 12 times 2/3, and I got 8x, plus 10 times 12, which I'm going to find is a big number, 120. And then I'm going to take my 5/4 times 12, and when I multiply that together, I'm going to end up with 15. So now, we've got a regular old two-step equation. Piece of cake for all of you. You all know what to do with this. You guys are awesome at it. I'm going to take that number that is all by itself, the one without the variable. And in this case, it's a plus 120. So to do it, we're going to subtract 120. And remember, it's a plus or a minus. Don't get caught up in positives and negatives for this part. So when I do that, I'm going to take 120, negative 120 and 15, and I will get a negative 105 for that. Down to our last step. Our last step is 8 times x. In order to get rid of our 8 over here, we're going to divide by 8. So we're going to do that on both sides. And again, we're left with one of those fractions, and we're just, for our purposes today, we're just going to leave it like that. If we want a decimal, you're going to divide 105 by 8, and you'll get a decimal answer. Now let's do one more quick example of this so that you get something else to look at. So let's start out with 1/4 x plus, let's start that one over. Let's start out with 1/4 x minus 2, I was copying the problem down wrong, is equal to 1 2/5. Shake things up with a 5 instead of a 3. First step, turn this into an improper fraction. So in order to do that, remember, we're taking our denominator, multiplying it by our whole number, and adding our numerator to it. So 5 times 1 is going to give me 5, plus 2 is going to give me 7. So I'm going to go ahead and make that 7/5. Bring the rest of my problem down. Now, got to get rid of these pesky fractions because we don't want to have to worry about common denominators and all that good stuff and adding and subtracting them. So we're going to do 4 times 5 to get 20, and we're going to multiply each term by 20. Remember to do all 3 terms, because if you forget one, the problem will be wrong, and that's where you'll mess up. That's where I see all the boo-boos happen. So 1/4 x minus 2 times 20 is equal to 7/5 times 20. So if I take 20 times 4, 1/4, I'm going to end up with 5x. 2 times 20, I'm going to end up with a minus 40. 7/5 times 20, I'm going to end up with 28. So there we go so far. Now, easy peasy lemon squeezy, we're back to just a silly old 2-step. I'm going to look at the one that's all by itself without a variable, so we're going to add 40 to both sides. When we do that, we end up with our leftovers of 5x. This one goes away. 28 and 40 is going to give me 68 because they're both positive. Last step, we're going to divide everything by that 5. And look at that again. We didn't have a nice, clean, easy one. I bet most of the ones in your homework are better. So 68 divided by 5, you can either put that in your calculator and get a decimal or leave it like that. Remember, you can always watch this video over and over while you're doing your homework to help you out.